Unmanaged stress can result in burnout, ineffective coping mechanisms, and overload. With a little considerate care and a lot of self compassion, you can manage your stress after you learn to spot the warning signs. There appears to be no end to the stressful situations in modern life. Maybe the alarm on your phone goes off in the morning, causing a rush of adrenaline to surge through you. Then, when you browse through your news feeds and discover the most recent national or local tragedy, you'll receive another hit. These days, it seems as though there are imagined or real threats everywhere, and both the mind and body respond in a variety of ways. Your pulse rate may increase, and you might also feel perspiration prone, hypervigilant, or just try to avoid anything unpleasant at the time. Perhaps we believe that technology would simplify our lives. Instead, an influx of unrelated data packets has been sent our way. Facebook constantly updates us on the vacation activities of our friends. Google alerts us about upcoming Christmas potlucks that we should attend. To get experts to recommend us on LinkedIn, we may do the same for them. And as for X, formerly known as Twitter, only the goddess knows what's going on there, but it gives you anxiety nonetheless. In the meantime, a wrist worn device indicates that we experience 45 minutes of restless sleep the night before. My friend used to describe email as a to do list that you didn't create for yourself. Furthermore, the numerous apps available to you that, for example, make it easier for you to purchase goods yields very little benefit. Our health and well being are directly impacted by our incapacity to break free from the information flow, whether it be at home or at work. We could be expected to stay connected, or because we find it impossible to physically or mentally be away from our phones at all. So, what happens next should come as no surprise to any of us. We experience a rise in our stress levels. Multiple definitions of stress exist, one of which says that stress is the body's non-specific adaptive reaction to any given demand or issue. There are three stages that make up this process: warning, opposition, and fatigue. Warnings trigger a variety of psychological and physiological responses in us, causing us to go into fight, flight, or freeze responses in an attempt to survive. These reactions are hormonal, neurological, cardiovascular, etc. in nature. One way to conceptualize opposition would be as the body's and mind's attempt to adjust and improve the stressor's effects. Everything will be fine once the stressor goes away. If not, the body may continue to produce the stress hormone cortisol, which could lead to symptoms like anxiety, insomnia, or impaired cognitive function. Chronic stressors can result from frequent exposure to them or from making futile attempts to cope with them, which can lead to fatigue, making us feel as if we're being overpowered mentally and physically. Thankfully, the majority of us no longer have to worry about being the prey of wild animals. Instead, we deal with lengthy commutes, nice nasty emails, an unstable economy, global warming, COVID 19, which I've learned in the last week hasn't actually gone away, and frequent reminders from social media how much better off others are than we are. The internal responses to these stressors are the same as they are when we're faced with a potentially fatal situation. No matter how big or small the stressor, it always involves a change that we have to get used to. Some examples of these changes are new babies, work relations, familiar romantic or platonic relationships, the passing of someone close, or maybe even illness. The problem may not be with stress per se, rather, it may be with how intense and persistent it can get, how we respond to it, and what we do when it flares up. It is imperative that humans adjust in mental, social, biological, and environmental areas. And if we can't solve problems, then what are we? However, excessive problem solving can also lead to burnout. Emotional exhaustion is a state in which you feel as though your life or job have overextended you emotionally. When individuals in helping professions feel they can no longer give of themselves, this is a typical occurrence. Our health and well being are directly impacted by our incapacity to break free from the information flow. A pessimistic, cynical attitude or treating people like objects are signs of depersonalization. We can start believing that other people deserve their misfortune. This point of view is especially connected to emotional tiredness. A sense of poor personal accomplishment, characterized by emotions of inadequacy, inefficiency, and incompetence, where you feel uncomfortable and unsatisfied with yourself and your performance, is the third indication to be on the lookout for. Chronic bitterness and learned helplessness may result from this. You can experience disillusionment, find it difficult to get out of bed, or find it difficult to concentrate at work. You can be easily irritated by coworkers and clients, lack the energy to finish jobs, or find it difficult to focus on a single activity. Even your appetite and sleep may be affected. In order to cope with your emotions, you might turn to drugs or suffer from bodily complaints like migraines and back pain. It can be challenging to distinguish between depression and burnout at times, so seeking professional mental health assistance may be necessary. Naturally, all of this could have impact on your personal and professional lives, making you unhappy, harming relationships, and lowering your productivity. There are several things you may do to control your stress, regardless of what's causing it. As you attend to your stress, start by giving mindful consideration to what's going on and showing yourself kindness. Next, take into account these tactics. Consider stressors as being internal or external, acute or chronic. Just keep in mind that these classifications could often intersect. A problem might be either acute or persistent. An instance of this might be a flare up of persistent back pain brought on by an injury, or an internal or external stressor, such as stomach ache brought on by a flight you had to take. By externalizing them, meaning you talk to someone or you write them down in your journal, you can help break them down and make them less overpowering and more manageable. We can just have them. We don't have to be them. Additionally, keep in mind that stressors eventually come to an end. What do you have the power to change and what you don't? Once you've determined which stressors are unchangeable, consider how you may approach them differently with a change in your attitude or perspective. Is it possible for you to view it differently? Are you able to accept it? Is it possible to turn an issue into a challenge to be overcome or a teaching moment? Is it possible to turn a task into something that makes you feel as if you've accomplished something? Is there a tiny, doable step you can take to start addressing the stressor or your response to them? Make sure the action you plan to take is expressed in a positive and specific manner. Focus more on what you intend to do and not so much on what you're not going to do. Establish a start and end time. Try not to overextend yourself. Recall the baby steps are crucial. Find some reliable and dependable individuals, including yourself. Are you able to name your internal and external resources for seeking help in handling stress? For instance, think about compiling a list of all of your resources if you're experiencing burnout at work. Which qualities do they possess? List any individuals, locations, pursuits, or items that may serve as support systems for you. Perhaps you need a workout partner, a friend to confide in on a daily basis, or you could look online for a meetup that could fulfill your needs. How can we strengthen and safeguard our internal reserves and supports? You can get hints about your inner resources by keeping an eye on the things that make you feel good. Perhaps you've given up on some little habits that you found nourishing, like having a podcast and a cappuccino first thing in the morning, or just taking a few deep breaths when you're feeling stressed. Recall that your breath is with you at all times. Make a schedule and start small. When you try to take on too much, you'll probably end up feeling overwhelmed and wanting to curl up with a blanket. Above all, give yourself some kindness. Nothing in this world is permanent. Change is very unavoidable and very inevitable. So, the least you can do is have a little kindness for yourself. Show yourself some grace when you are going through stressful moments. When we get stressed out, we usually mentally check out and go into autopilot, allowing our bodies to operate solely from muscle memory. The best thing you can do for these moments is some grounding and centering exercises, or you can simply just grab a pen and paper and get to the bottom of the stress. First, jot down your feelings, ideas, physical experiences, actions, and urges to take action when under pressure. Specify the circumstances: where, when, who, and what. Make a list of your first automatic thoughts. Write down the single phrase or word to describe your feelings and moods. Note the bodily locations where you experience these feelings. Then make a list of your impulses and behaviors. Second, once your list is complete, consider the situations and methods in which you could apply mindfulness to these responses. A stress cycle may be avoided by pausing, taking a deep breath, paying attention to bodily sensations, or showing curiosity about the situation that you're in. Additionally, think about if action is necessary to solve the situation, and if so, how.